Keep it away. Ah, what's it doing? No. Ah, get it. What are you? No, help. Ah. That's the last time I do farm-to-table cuisine.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, your fearless leader, Glenn Hausman. All right, I got plenty of fears. Lots of fears because I am coming at you today from the Javits Center, one of the scariest places on the known earth. But to make it a little bit easier, I've got a very special guest who I'll be bringing in just a second. But, you probably read the show notes and already know who it is. That being said, I wanted to say that this show is brought to you in part by Duetto, the revenue strategy people that are going to help make your business better. Be sure to check them out at getrevenueresults.com. That's getrevenueresults.com. And I want you to watch some videos that they have up there. I know I've been saying this for many, many months now, but if you haven't had the chance to do it, go check it out because they're really going to help you understand how to put a better strategy into place that's going to make you as hoteliers make more money while making a more cohesive team. And that, I think, is what it's really all about. It's giving you the tools for your team to enjoy those successes. So, I feel like I've got one life today. I'm going to try to blaze on, and I got with me Mr. Bruce Ford, SVP of Lodging Econometrics, one of the regular rascals here on the No Vacancy podcast.
Glenn, it's such a beautiful day in New York today. It's wonderful to see you. It's been months.
It really has been months, Bruce. I got to say, I feel like this is the longest stretch we've gone without seeing each other in so freaking long.
Well, you plan travel around everywhere I'm not going. So, I mean, it's kind of like, the ultimate FU, if you will. But, hey,
I can't believe that you figured out that I was actually doing that purposely.
Long-time friendship, what can I say? So,
yeah.
For what it's worth, ladies and gentlemen, it is November. We are all still alive. The elections have passed, and, it's about to get more insane.
It is definitely about to get more insane. So when I think about the insanity that's about to come forth, do you think that people out there are going to be forging ahead with their businesses, or do you think that they're going to be doing one of those wait-and-see approaches that everyone likes to take before elections happen?
We actually just came out with the 4-point plan, Glenn.
Oh, yeah?
The 4-point plan is, okay, if you are a manufacturer out there in the business and you're looking at a hotel project, expect that it will be 90 to 120 days delayed.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they begin construction and they say this is going to be the open date, it's going to be 90 to 120 days later. Just assume that that's going to happen.
What are the things that are happening out there to cause that to occur?
Well, it's a number of factors, but the first factor is if you quoted a project 12 months before you began building it, all of the quotes are trash. Because the raw material costs for those products, the tariffs affected on those products, everything's changed.
Well, we're seeing right now all of my designer friends out there, my manufacturing friends out there, in particular, the purchasing pros that I know out there are all saying, hey, this is the price, but you may want to add 25% just in case.
And contingencies are never 25%. They're usually like 10.
Well, when you got 25% tariffs coming from China, you've got no choice.
Well, I guess we might need to find someplace else to bring those products in from, Glenn, don't you think?
I do think, and I wonder if the tariffs are actually going to make that happen, or if it's really just going to be a pipe dream. But either way, it's going to reshape what's happening within the hospitality business.
We all have plenty of friends that are importers, okay?
That's
all
true.
Have plenty of people that we know that bring product in from overseas. You're finding out more information about where that's coming from now than ever before, okay? And the reason for that is that if it's coming from China, at the end of the day, all the savings that you would get from being able to leverage lower-cost labor, leverage lower-cost products is all wiped away now that it's going up 25%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's really rough. So, being that you, my friend, are the mastermind of the hospitality pipeline, and what Lodging Econometrics does is they track every single hotel project in the known universe. I think next year you're going for the unknown universe. See what's on the other side of those wormholes.
Well, Galaxy's Edge opens at Disney World next year, so we're going to a whole new place.
I'm really looking forward to visiting Batu when that opens up over there. But I will say, being that you are tracking all of these hotel projects within the world, both renovations and new construction, How is the industry responding to the sense of uncertainty with tariffs in the new construction pipeline, or is it even reflecting it at all, Bruce?
It's not slowing down, Glenn.
That's exciting and scary for some of these guys, I think.
Plenty of new project announcements, plenty of new brands.
Right.
Okay, we have new brands popping up every month. Okay, and as a result, we're getting more pipeline. The key thing to remember when you're thinking about, and I had this question the other day from a supplier, is, well, when are we going to build too much? The answer is it isn't on the near-term horizon, and mostly because demand for hotel room nights has continued to be at a pace that's well above the long-term average.
It's amazing to me that it's continuing on and on and on. What are we at, 108 or so months of continuous gains in the market?
It actually ended last month.
Wah, wah.
It was 102. It ended last month, but the reason that it ended was in the extraordinary event that happened a year ago, which was Houston got flooded by a hurricane.
So that artificially upped those numbers.
Correct. So you couldn't repeat that as a result. So that was the only reason that it stopped. Okay. Otherwise, we would be on 104 months of continuing occupancy, average daily rate, and RevPAR growth, which are still growing, which are still in great shape. It was just 1 month of comparable and maybe 2 months of comparable that couldn't be repeated.
Right.
So with this unprecedented demand growth that we've seen, Glenn, we haven't had 3% new supply growth since 2007,
which is really great. And if you not necessarily for the developers that want to develop before everyone else does, but I think it helps keep the symbiosis in the industry between that supply side and the demand side pretty rich. That things have been going along at a slower pace. Because I recall, was it right when the market crashed, 2007, 2008, we had such a massive pipeline that it really took years to fully digest.
Now, I would say that you've heard me say on this podcast before, Glenn, that owners have never made more money. Still
That's
factual,
right.
Okay? But what we are seeing now is the residuals of increasing expenses at the property level.
Right.
Whether that's health insurance, cost of labor, or otherwise, okay, the owner's expenses are rising pretty
all
dramatically.
Of the above. I mean, even the price of basic commodities are rising now.
Yes.
Food prices are up way more than the price than the rate of inflation.
Yes. So everything is tightening up. Although the operating performance is positive, the operating environment is positive, the development pipeline is positive, expenses are also plus positive. And so you're starting to hear a little bit about that, okay, from the owners. But even if that's the case, all right, properties have never been worth more than they are right now.
Right.
Okay. And no one's paying sticker price for hotels, okay, in terms of their greatest valuation and their greatest no one's buying that today. So transactions have slowed, okay? So you have the combination of renovations that are taking longer, if you can afford to do it, and slower timelines to complete, challenging environment. You have new construction coming, but it's coming a little bit slower than you anticipated, mostly because the costs are up. You have more people knocking on your door looking to rent rooms every night, but how much further can you go with rate? So we have a lot of challenging environment today, for sure, challenging environment, but we should all feel pretty good about where we're at because it's certainly a healthy time in the industry.
Yes, but at the same time, feel good about yourself, but don't get into that mode of it's going to be amazing for all time. And I see that groupthink happening at these conferences that we attend throughout the year, that when things are great, everyone has this belief that things are never going to turn down ever again. And when things are down, they never believe that it's ever going to go up again. So at least approach it with a steady head. Be smart about it. Think about it. Take time to enjoy yourself and be prepared for any opportunities that might come in the future.
And I challenge all the suppliers out there in the industry to think about how am I going to continue to improve my pricing? How am I going to continue to improve the service to the owner, the service to the purchaser of my product? How am I going to continue to improve my margins? Because at the end of the day, if you have a finished product and you're the last guy to get bought, the pressure's on to not only deliver on time, but to make it valuable to the owner.
Right.
And it's a very challenging environment today. And So I encourage suppliers to develop more relationships, deeper relationships. Look for the companies that are multiple owners, multiple developers, multiple management companies that constantly have projects, and build a relationship so that your brand and their brands are aligned.
Well, this is great practical advice, but, we happen to be recording this in person with each other. We don't always get to do that. We're here in New York City, right? My hometown, and we're at the Javits Center attending the HX Experience and BNDY. Now, as you listeners are hearing this, it's I think the show was about 8 to 10 days in the past from when we're recording this, but what is the vibe that you're getting here at this event, and is that a bellwether for the overall state of business?
I think the vibe is people feel like they're in search of new customers, and they keep looking, okay? And they are aggressively looking. And I think those new customers are out there. I think you have to continue to innovate today. I woke up in my hotel room with no carpet this morning. I forgot that I had wood floor.
I thought you were going to say they removed it in the middle of the night.
No, again, I'm in a hotel room in New York, and but I'm experiencing a hotel that has been open for about 6-7 months, and construction dust is still all over the hotel.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Why so long?
It's not good. It's not good.
All right.
So all of the factors that they say that it's more environmentally friendly and it's better for the guest and everything. It's still. Would you break out the Swiffers, please?
Yeah, I was about to say. So if you get sawdust lung at the end of this little spin on black lung, I wish you luck. I'm staying at a hotel. I don't know if it's new or not, but it's just nice to be staying in a hotel in New York City. Of course, I got here too early this morning to check into my room, so I can't tell you what kind of flooring I have. But, I mean, I showed up at 9:45. I can't expect them to have the room like that. However, I was in another country a week before we recorded this, showed up at 2 o'clock. They didn't have my room ready, and then they had to give me that line, well, we don't guarantee the room till 4, and I hate when they're negative about it. I was happy to just go grab some lunch. I get it, But the other thing that bothers me is we've prioritized your name. That's such a lie. I think, because everybody is going to be prioritized, so you're not getting any priority.
So
you're in the
aren't
same
you
order.
renting the room for a day, Glenn? Not 4 p.m. to 11 a.m. the next day? That's not a day.
No, it's not. It's 4 p.m. to 11 a.m. I'm wondering what's happening to those extra 5 hours all the time.
That's not a day.
Somebody's making off with all of those extra 5 hours and is having a much better life than we are.
Yeah, well, we can complain, but who the hell will listen, Glenn?
Well, most of the time I get kicked out at some point in regular hotels, but what I love doing in Las Vegas is you don't ask for the late departure. Just stay in there because they never get around to cleaning the room anyway, so you can stay till 3, 4 o'clock. No one will notice.
Especially.
Right?
Yeah. That's just kind of how you roll, Glenn.
I know.
There are tricks to learning how Glenn rolls, okay? Now, congratulations on your diamond status, my friend.
Yeah, I got to tell you, so I got this diamond status, and it happened last month, and I'm not sure whether or not this is a good thing or really extremely sad commentary on my life. I'm really happy that I've had this year to be really getting out there and getting to attend so many terrific events and have so many fantastic speaking opportunities this year, but the grind of travel is really getting to me, Bruce Ford.
You need better socks, Glenn. Socks are important, okay? You need better socks. Go buy yourself some new socks.
I think that's wise advice. My favorite band always says, "Whatever you do, take care of your shoes." But I like that you're bringing in the socks to this as well.
The socks go in the shoes, Glenn.
Yeah, all right. And I guess it's a good way to take care of your shoes. All right, so I think we set the stage to really talk about what's happening in 2019. 2018, great year, the one small non-comparable hiccup, but what are you feeling when it comes to overall 2019 in the world of hospitality?
I think 2019 is going to be set up for continued growth in operating performance. We're going to open more hotel rooms next year than we've opened since 2009. The pipeline will continue to grow. I think the sentiment, is that there has to be a dam breaking on hospitality transactions. There's too much money chasing the hospitality business not to continue to see more transactions. I think I also expect we'll see some more mergers, some more acquisitions, some more brands selling next year. as you and I were just coming up the stairs, Glenn, to do this, we were talking about consolidation in Las Vegas.
Right.
And the possibility that that's available. And that would create basically, a mile of the strip that would be all one company?
That would be insane if that's the case. I already feel like there's too few players on the strip right now.
Yeah. And so that's likely. I mean, when you start to talk about gaming and how it's changing, you have Las Vegas-style casinos in, what's it going to be, 35 states next year?
I don't know the exact number, but it
It's gonna
seems
be up
like
to 35.
I feel like it's going to be everybody but Hawaii and Utah before
Glenn,
long.
when you and I grew up, it was Atlantic City and Las Vegas.
Atlantic City didn't even start until 1978.
Yeah, that was it. Now we're going to have Encore Boston opening in May. We have MGM in Springfield, Massachusetts already. You have gaming in Connecticut. You get gaming in the Catskills in New York. I mean, it's everywhere. There's casinos in every single state. So what is Las Vegas?
Well, Las Vegas is a place to hold conferences at this point, it seems. At least that's what the city seems to be telling me.
Conferences, entertainment.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Okay. But do you still want to go there for a weekend of fun?
No, but that might be more of a fundamental of a cross between getting older and I've literally been there 100 times.
Okay. Well, we have to. The next time we go to Las Vegas, Glenn, we have to go to a nightclub because it's been a while.
Geez, it's probably been 8 years, maybe?
I think the last 2 times I've gone to Omnia, and I'd like to go back.
Oh, yeah, we did do that for HD Expo parties.
Yes, and I'd like to go somewhere else. I'd like to say it's not Omnia. Let's go to a different one next time, okay? Can we resolve that?
We'll try. All right. So next May, you, me, or before, we'll hit one of those nightclubs.
Well, HD's in the middle of May next year.
That late?
Yes. Yeah, like the weekend before Memorial Day.
Oh, wow.
It's quite a bit later next year. And I actually have to go to the West Coast every single month at the beginning of the year next year.
Wow.
Both January, February, March, April.
And
the AHOA conference is in San Diego next year.
Oh, April. Yeah, April.
Yeah, that'll be terrible. I don't like going to San Diego.
Oh, man, I hate going to San Diego. I love that city. Now, if you talk about conference cities, that city was totally designed to have conferences, at least that Gaslamp District and where the...
Totally.
Oh, my God. I love it. I happen to have been there back in August for the Global Business Travel Association's annual meeting, and you can see tons of great videos that we did during that event on HereToStay.tv and on NoVacancyNews.com. And that was interesting because it was all about movement and where these major companies are going with global business travel. But, of course, we're here talking about hotels today.
I have one more statistic, Glenn. Just one.
Only one.
Okay. I told you 2 podcasts ago that the upper mid-scale chain scale was going to have 1 million guest rooms in it by the time we talked again.
And this is 2 podcasts ago that Bruce was featured on, not 2 episodes ago.
And it's there.
I'm now looking at a piece of paper with numbers so small they're blurry for my aging eyes, but I'm just going to go, wow, I see it.
Upper mid-scale, 1 million branded guest rooms in upper mid-scale.
In the pipeline?
No,
open.
That are open.
So what does that mean, Bruce?
Well, upper mid-scale wasn't even a chain scale 10 years ago.
No.
Okay? But when they put the chain scale together, they put brands in there like Hampton Inn and Holiday Inn Express that have continued to expand and continue to grow. We don't even have another chain scale that has 800,000 rooms. So the dominance of upper mid-scale and upscale in terms of what we choose for hotels as travelers has continued to overshadow the growth of any other chain scale.
Wow.
69% of the rooms in the new construction pipeline are upscale and upper mid-scale.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. The pricing is right. Guests seem to love it. Owners are making bank on it. So it's just a win-win all around for everybody.
Yeah. And I visited 4 of them yesterday. I was at an AC. I was at a Staybridge. I was at a Moxie.
Yeah.
and I was also at a Holiday Inn Express.
One thing that I think we talked about that wasn't on the mic that I thought was a great observation that you made is all of these new brands that are being introduced today, they're not geared towards us. We're not supposed to like them.
We're supposed to hate them.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we are in our mid-40s, okay, and they're not building brands for us anymore, Glenn.
No.
Okay, because the brands that we're supposed to like are already in the market. Okay, the brands that are coming out, I mean, I think I commented to you on Hilton's brand launched with Moto that they used the word hostel like 3 times.
Moto, not motto?
I think Moto.
All right. I would think a Japanese company would do a brand called Moto.
I haven't heard a Hilton person say it to me yet.
Right.
But I did watch some videos, and I felt like that was the pronunciation.
All right. Sounds good to me.
But they used the word hostel 3 times in their press release.
Yeah, but some of the people were telling me it's not really hostel-like, but I think they're trying to play on the coolness of that word right now.
Oh, is that what it is?
I don't know.
We all have to be cool?
Honestly, yes, we all do have to be cool. It's now required in the hospitality world. But the funny thing is I really don't know as much about that brand as I should. So, full disclosure, I got the press releases, I saw the news stories, I read up on it, but I haven't really spoken to anybody personally about it yet.
Well, the big thing you should walk away with, Glenn, is urban center,
right?
Urban design. Think less than 250 square feet per room, and it's just small. I mean, you and I won't enjoy it.
No. Although I got to say, I'm growing accustomed to smaller rooms in New York City. When we were younger, I had a bigger problem with that. Now I'm kind of used to it, and I just kind of have given up in thinking I'm ever going to have a room where I can move around freely in New York.
This is me slapping Glenn.
Hey, last year I stayed at the Moxie right by Penn Station. I happen to really like the design of that room. It was well thought out on the smaller size, but I didn't feel as if I needed a lot more space, where I've seen some of the classic brand hotels where you step into those rooms where they just feel extremely tiny. I don't know how much of it is my lack of familiarization with the brand. I don't know how much of it is the smart design of the room. I'm not quite sure, but there was a distinct difference.
Yeah. Well, it's many of these newer, smaller designs. It's a lot of bed and a little bit of TV. Mm-hmm. And maybe they give you a sink.
Right. Well, I hope so.
Sure enough. So, Glenn.
Yes, Bruce.
Happy holidays.
Hey, happy holidays to you. Wow, I can't believe, what is it? I guess as the day this show is posting, Thanksgiving was yesterday.
How about that?
How about it, right? So I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, Bruce.
Well, I am going to have a tremendous Thanksgiving, Glenn.
That's great. What are you doing?
I'm going to watch football.
That's great.
That's all I do on Thanksgiving.
I like
football.
That. I think that I am going to be cooking for a lot of people, which is something that I happen to love doing, and I will have some of the football games on in the past, in the beyond. But I also like watching that parade, the Thanksgiving Day Macy's parade.
Yes, I'm having a bagel bar that morning in honor of all my New York friends.
Nice. There's something. Thanksgiving, unabashedly, is my favorite holiday of the year. It's quintessentially American, North American. The Canadians do something a little bit earlier in the year. It's kind of got the same theme to it. But I just love the togetherness of it. It feels warm. It feels cozy. And there's something about having that hot cup of coffee in the morning while watching the Thanksgiving parade that's just so special. And then having family and friends come over and just really enjoy the rest of the day with you. And having off that Friday is a bonus.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you're going to give yourself a day off, Glenn, because you need one.
I really do need one. I'm sorry to everybody if I sound a little fatigued during this podcast. I'm really running on fumes here. Getting close to the finish line as I'm recording this show with you, Bruce. I got 2 more days left on the road, and then I'm home for a sexy, hot 2 full weeks before going to California. I don't know what. All right, week and a half. I don't know what I'm going to do during all of that time, but it's going to be really nice to kind of decompress.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to plan for our Disneyland trip in January, where we're going to go try and catch some super secret photos of the new Star Wars.
I know. I could already picture holding me up above the wall.
Absolutely.
So I can take some great pictures.
Yeah. Well, we got to call on our Disney peeps and try and get all the inside access we can.
Yeah. This is how. I'm sorry to admit how into following this construction project I am, but at the beginning of it, people used to go on the top level of the parking structure.
I know.
Which looks over, and you can see all those videos there. I feel like we're going to need to check that angle out too.
Absolutely. We're going to need to do that.
All right, so I'm thinking what we do is we go check that out, and then we tape a show Right there. Maybe we bring the equipment with us. We go back to our rental
That's
car,
hot.
whatever it is.
I love it.
Give our impressions of it. We'll shoot some video on it as well. I think that'll be some good stuff. So, Bruce, closing out this segment, any final thoughts? How can we find you?
BFINNH on Twitter, Lodging Economet on Twitter, as well as find us on LinkedIn. And no, we don't have a Facebook page.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, what do you need a Facebook page for? LinkedIn is a much smarter place for you to be organizationally speaking.
True.
But Bruce has a Facebook page, so try friending him on that. And I want to thank all of you guys for listening. Stick around, because after the commercial break, we got another great interview. And you already know what it is. It's in the show notes. As I'm recording this, I'm a man of mystery. Not sure which one is going to be following. But Bruce, man, I've got so many great interviews set for the remainder of this year. I'm stoked. Right? If you didn't hear last week's show with Montage Resorts, you got to check that out. And Pendry Hotels, that was a real special show. Actually, that was 2 weeks ago as we're recording this. Last week's show was a focus on the Caribbean and Bermuda with Kevin Dallas, the CEO of the Bermuda Tourism Authority, and Paris Jordan, the person who put together the Caribbean Hotel Conference. Chicos, you're going to love that show if you haven't heard it. And coming in December, I've got great interviews with CEOs of a lot of international companies, so I'm excited about that. We've got,
He's gone global.
I know. We're definitely going global. So you're really going to want to hear what those shows are. So stick around. If you haven't subscribed to the No Vacancy channel, text the word hotel to 66866. That's hotel 66866. And, of course, subscribe to all of our shows. This show, the Hotel Design Podcast, Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, the Hotel Podcast, and coming soon, the Business of Hotels Podcast. Find those all on your social media channels. Get them on iTunes, get them on Google Play, get it on Stitcher, all those places. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back right after this commercial break with another great segment.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. So as you know, this has been a pretty exciting year for Red Roof. A couple of months ago, I told you about Hometown Studios by Red Roof and how it's an excellent opportunity for franchisees looking to get in on the incredible explosive growth of the extended stay segment. Remember what I told you in the past. Lodging Econometrics says 27% of all new hotels in the pipeline are extended stay. This market is hot. And today, there's already 40 Hometown Studios open, with more opening every single week as their $50 million renovation program is completed. Each apartment-style studio offers the amenities guests want, including upgraded decor, kitchenette with full-size refrigerator, on-site laundry facilities, free Wi-Fi, and more, all while continuing Red Roof's tradition of clean, comfortable accommodations at an unmatched value. Meanwhile, franchisees get Red Roof's significant brand awareness, their seasoned management team, and their richest-in-class loyalty program. More than 2.5 million members! And just happens to be the least expensive loyalty program for owners. And that's in addition to their award-winning marketing department and a dedicated website based on their fastest in-class with mobile-first technology. Finally, with Hometown Studios by Red Roof, you'll be working with a company with franchisee satisfaction of 94%. That's amazing, and twice my high school GPA. And those franchisees will tell you genuine relationships, real results. It isn't just some slogan, it's how Red Roof does business. So get in on the new way to extended stay and visit redrooffranchising.com or call 888-473-8861. That's redrooffranchising.com or 888-473-8861. And tell them Glenn sent you.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
And welcome back to the No Vacancy Podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. Excited to have you today for this particular interview because I'm speaking with Brett Blass. Now, Brett Blass is the COO of Triumph Hotel, a brand that I see is really up and coming within the New York City area. And why do I like it? Because these guys get it. They're really ahead of the trends and what hoteliers need to be doing to make that important emotional connection with guests. And I've just had such a great time touring a couple of these properties. So, Brett, great to hear from you today.
Well, really great to be here. Thank you.
Exciting to have you. So I I had the opportunity to go and visit the Evelyn Hotel, and I'd heard about your brand. I'd been wanting to get you on the phone, but I got to tell you that Evelyn property really sealed the deal for me. It just made me feel like you guys kind of get where hospitality is coming from, honoring the history of New York City, trying to work to make that emotional connection with the guests in a meaningful way through great service and great design and all of those kinds of stuff. So I want to rewind a little bit before we get there. Tell me a little bit about Triumph Hotels, its history, and how you got involved.
Well, it's an interesting group. Been in, really, if you look at the two principals, Shimmy Horn and Joe Barad for Triumph Hotels, they've been in the business their whole lives. They grew up in the business. Their fathers, grandfathers were in the business. And really what they've done currently, I think, in sort of the hotel modeling that's coming forth, is they're conveying what they love most about the business, the people in the business, the people that they've worked with generationally in the business. They're very relationship oriented folks. And so sort of organically, the hotels and how they're coming to be are a strong collaboration of not just, the typical general contractor who builds a building, but it could be the florist down the street, and how the florist down the street, we're collaborating with what we see the hotel being and how it should be styled and how it should affect people when they walk through the door. And so the florist is sort of part of the inevitable end product. And it's the whole neighborhood kind of watches, like for your example, the Evelyn, the neighborhood has sort of been part of bringing the culture of the history, the new design, and the environment itself to our customers, both the locals who come through and the people who visit New York.
Right. Yeah. I think, go on, Brett. Sorry.
And I think it's why we're, to your point, we've been sort of blessed in that Evelyn has kind of come out of the gate and is connecting with people, because I think it's just been a really great sort of almost neighborhood vested project. So when it does fall short, it's 100% big apple, big heart feel for our patrons when they come through the door.
And each one of them are different, flavors of the personality of New York that I see. They're all quintessentially New York, but they're not anywhere near being carbon copies of each other, each with its own distinct personality, feel, and vibe. Triumph Hotels right now has 6 brands, including the Hotel Edison, the Hotel Belclair, the Iroquois, the aforementioned Evelyn, the Washington Jefferson Hotel, and the Frederick Hotel. I was able to mention them all because there's just 6 of them right now. So tell me a little bit about how you folks approach each one of these projects and the philosophy behind it, because I see a lot of the major hotel brands right now trying to accomplish that sense of being authentically local, but you're taking it to another level in the subtlety of it, but it also seems to be very directly connected to that neighborhood you were saying, in terms of I feel like the hotels are the neighborhood and the neighborhood is the hotels. Right.
And I think you really encapsulated it well. I mean, we're not outsiders coming in trying to, where we buy a parcel of land or building, and we're trying to make it a New York experience for those who visit New York. These are folks as a collective that have grown up in the New York hotel business and have this huge sense of pride about it. And because of how we've sort of, from the designers we've selected to how we're trying to brand our hotels and how make each hotel within its own neighborhood speak to the neighborhood in which it's, and be very inclusive to people in general, but in the local businesses and the collaborations that we're doing, I think we're delivering, and it's sort of a little bit of an overused term, organically, but I think we really are organically delivering a true New York hospitality experience. And it's easier said than done. And I think we've just done it. I think part of, even our employees are very connected, and we've had such great employees throughout our 6 hotels in New York. And many of them have been with our hotels for a long, long time, from a couple of years to a couple of decades. And they're there because they are very connected to the people, Shimmy and Gerald, who've creating the brand and building the hotels, to the philosophy, the service oriented philosophy that each hotel has. And it's a humble organization that is just really proud of what it's building and hopeful that the sort of admiration and love that it has for its buildings is conveying well to its customers and is sort of shared well. And that's sort of our center, or even our, of how we construct the business.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about more how you partner with locals, because this is an area where I hear a lot of people saying they want to be part of the community, but at the same time, they're really separated from the community. You're actually engaging people like the aforementioned florists to participate in the experience of the property.
Right. So we look closely at the products we're using, and we try to, be as local as possible. We brought in, we're starting to play around with, and have introduced it in a couple of our hotels, the Frederick and Evelyn, for example, bathroom amenities. And, there's so many to choose from, and, people, it's all about the senses at the end of the day in a hotel. When we talk about the element a little bit, really it's, everything we're doing is to apply positive pressure to the senses in one way or the other. So let's talk about that when it comes to bathroom amenities, and sort of the story of the bathroom amenities. It's just, I think that it's called Five Wits, which sort of in its own way speaks to the boroughs of New York. Mm-hmm. It speaks to the senses, right? And it's the founder, Joey Silvestri, is a local here in New York. He's got a salon called Blackstones, and he created what I think was an interesting eye appeal packaging, interesting sense and feel of the product themselves, and a nice little story behind it that is very, very boroughs of New York, and speaks to its sort of strategy and values are very much in alignment with what we're doing. So it's not just finding a local florist or a local bathroom amenity, but how do they feel about their customer? How do they create their product? And is it in general, how are they as business people? And does that align also to what we do at Triumph? And if it does, we think it's a win-win, and we run out and collaborate with these folks.
Great. How important is that for the success of the property from the customer point of view, do you think?
I think it creates clarity mm-hmm. and purpose. I think if you say you're going to deliver something and then you bring in, we're very New York, this is what we want to do, and we bring in products, no disrespect, but all of a sudden product from, let's say, London generated. Well, there really needs to be some reason why you're using something from the UK if you're trying to express and make people feel the New York experience. And our New York experience is because we have historic properties, the way we design around them and the kind of the little bit of the story that we try to tell, it can be a bit of a walk in time backward. It can go, we kind of bring the history of New York out because we think that that's part of what travelers want to experience, especially coming to such a history steeped, mega impactful places, New York City. So we want people to feel the neighborhoods, feel the history, and feel so the products, the things that we do, we want it to feel very, very much like they're just walking down the streets of New York, and what they find in their bathroom, they might find in a small window in a small shop, mm-hmm. a block and a half away from our hotel as well.
And I think that's great for the guest, for the community, for you as a hotelier. So looking at that Evelynn Hotel, which has just gone through a recent renovation, it's actually a historic building created in 1903, I believe it was, back in the Tin Pan Alley days of stuff, right? So Evelynn is actually, right. From what I recall on my tour, I'm totally blanking on her last name. You'll tell me. Evelynn, though, was like the first supermodel in New York back in the day, right?
Right. She she was quite an entrepreneur, actually, which she's in its own way. kind of speaks to, I guess, us as a company. It's very entrepreneurial. We're very, it's 1,000 little things that you have to kind of talk about, assess, take important in order to get it right. I think that's what there's a very fine line between good and great. And in order to get over that fine line, it's about the small details and really making those small details matter. And I think it's funny when you talk about Evelyn Nesbitt.
That's it.
She's someone who sort of worked really hard in her life in a time when, it was a little bit across the grain, of course. And, she did some acting, and yes, she was a model, and she ran a restaurant and bar. And, and then you talk about the Tin Pan Alley. When you talk about history of hotel, it's sort of in that Tin Pan Alley, very sort of musical, creative, artful period in time. And that's been brought into the hotel. And a lot of the things that we'll do in that hotel will be about looking at that part of its building's history and building on it. So we have sort of we have a bakery in that hotel, which is really quite wonderful. And our intention is we'll do things like poetry readings and within the hotel lobby space and bakery space. And we'll do, music, live music. It could be a harp. It could be, a couple people, entertainers just singing to sort of bring in sort of the feel of that space and place.
Right.
And I think it's conveyed in the design. And what we're working hard doing now, I'd love for you to see that hotel again in a few weeks, is we're going through the styling era of it, because you sort of build a place, but how do you take a space and make it this great place? Like how does the space become a place?
Right.
And part of it is obviously design and intention of what you're going to do with the space, and how is that space going to convey, and what's the story from the time you walk through the door and then you start to walk through the building. What's the story? How is each sort of chapter not letting you down? How is it building on the experience of this place? And so we're spending our time now, and have been the last few weeks, styling, because styling is different than design, right? Mm-hmm. So what we do is we like to go in and design it, and then go in and style it. So how do we take the attributes of the design and enunciate those things and create, the warmth, the lighting, the temperature, the unexpected, to make a place more aspirational, more interesting to be in, more greater experience. That's what we're kind of going through. We've done that at the Frederick Hotel. We've gotten through that design and styling cycle. In Evelyn, we've gotten through the design cycle. We're almost through the styling cycle. And that styling cycle happens in the guest rooms and in the public areas. It happens in both places. And we are really looking at how do we make sort of the areas speak better together, and make that sort of travel through the lobby into the restaurants and the bars and into the guest elevators, even tie together better and fulfill a customer's expectation, whether the expectation's known to that customer or it's just sort of surprise and delight as they go through. It doesn't really matter, but that is our goal.
What do you think your customer is expecting in 2018 from a hotel? Because everyone in our business has gotten so great, and they're so sophisticated at it. It's getting harder and harder to surprise and delight the customer in an easy way. You really got to dig deep in order to figure that out. So how do you approach that?
Well, I think it always starts with the people, right? Mm-hmm. And very sort of, when you have an opportunity to bring someone new into the organization, it's really about making sure that there's value alignment between new employees and the business, because that creates sustainability and excitement all during that time when people are sort of traveling down the same road together. And, that's really important in the hotel business, because it's a face-to-face business. And so sort of having people who are sort of spiritually and intellectually aligned with what you're trying to do, and are like we are, humble, sort of service-oriented folks is really critical. I think technology, ease of technology, and is how people's individual technology interacts with our technology is important for 2018 and beyond. It's a must-have. And I think then on the other side of it is, again, from the design and the styling and creating the right relationships with restaurants and bars, which is all sort of what we're doing, that are very New York oriented, that create lift and experience and excitement when you come through our doors and inside our walls. That is all really critical. And those bars and restaurants are real partnerships with those sort of shared values, and in order to make it work. So things don't seem segregated. They seem very genuinely connected, where things don't feel bolted on.
Right.
And that's what can kind of happen sometimes is you come in, you build a hotel, then you go try to find a restaurateur or a bar operator, and it's about the deal, and it's about the space, the square footage of the space. It's about all that stuff first. For us, we're looking more about trying to make the right decisions and then work together to help those businesses grow and be sustainable along with our primary business, the hotels. It's a real sort of another strong collaboration, I think.
Yeah, and it's a critical collaboration these days, especially the collaboration you have between you and your staff that's there. And the reason why I'm making this segue is because I'm finding it ever and increasingly challenge amongst hoteliers to find the right type of people. There's a couple of things going on. There's this over-reliance, this potential over-reliance on technology to replace people, while at the same time, as we've shifted from a manufacturing economy to a service economy, there's a smaller pool, where there's a larger pool of hotels, but the same kind of number of people that are going to be really great facing the guests and interacting with those guests. How do you make sure that you're finding the right people that can carry on the feeling and energy that you're trying to create through Triumph Hotels, and really make that meaningful connection to the guests? And I'll tell you before you answer that, Brett, it's because the reason why I ask this is because so many hoteliers out there are really having trouble finding those right people that have the right personality. And I don't know anybody at the end of the day who comes home and says, oh, that hotel was great, I'm going to stay there again, without saying the people that were servicing the hotel really made the difference.
Well, I think, it's look, with unemployment where it is, thank goodness, it's even a bigger challenge, right?
Yeah.
But I think what it is I think what will help also is we're just beginning to go down the roads of self-branding. We're beginning. One of the things that I'm doing since coming on board is sort of asking those questions of who are we and how do we best convey it, and what's the benefit of conveying it. And one of the benefits, and so we're a local branding agency to start to build what is the really. How do we convey the connective tissue of what Triumph Hotels is? Because to your point, our hotels are very different. They're in different locations, but there's this connective tissue, which right now is some really, really brilliant people that work in our hotels, and the sort of, aspiration of the owners of Triumph Hotels. But how do you take all of that and spin it out and make it convey to where it becomes a magnet, the way you're communicating out for people? So in other words, how can we take our brand, push it out, and that in and of itself will start to speak to people who will go, you know what, that sounds like a place I want to work. That sounds like well, I really get that. Let me find out more about them, and look at what they have available and apply to us because of they understand our message. So it's not about the job. It's about they're applying to us because of what they understand our culture and our vision is, either through a manifesto or whatever it is. So those are how I think we need to better tap into things we need to do to better tap into finding the right collection of new team members. But I think I really think it's really doing it one at a time, bringing in people one at a time, and really making sure you find the right person. It's never checking boxes, man, hiring folks. It's really connecting with people. And the sooner you can connect with people when they're starting to consider working, because we're a small company and not an offshoot of even a big company, is there's so many sub-brands of mega brands, we're very nimble. And so we're able to adjust. So we're able to figure out from a technology perspective what's important. And reading cultural movement is important. So, for example, when you talk about going to a hotel and staying in it, what services are important? Well, we really are judging what services are important today. How is the need for minibar different today than it was 3 years ago? And how will that need be different 2 or 3 years from now? Mm-hmm. We can kind of get to, because we're nimble this way and we're in the best city on the planet in New York, we sort of can judge if our eyes are open to what culture, what travelers want today and where we think it's going tomorrow. And those decisions we're trying to embody in projects that we're working on today and our future projects, because, we have the Washington Jefferson Hotel and the Belle Claire Hotel. And those hotels are in our crosshairs for what's coming up next. We're already starting the process on that. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to figure out what's best, like how should room service be? What does guests really need? With technology, ordering room service today and tomorrow is much different than ordering room service 2 years ago. How they want it delivered, how transportable it should be, what it should be, all different. People are operating so differently now than they were a couple of years ago. And we are continually trying to adapt our product to speak to that change in humanity.
I love that you've got to adapt the product, especially when you're in all of these historic type buildings. So you're looking backwards while simultaneously thinking forwards in order to create the perfect experience for today. So when you're looking at some of these structures that exist already, is it an advantage to take over an older existing hotel, or is there more of an advantage to building something from the ground up, especially when you're in New York City?
Yes. There's advantages to both, right?
Right.
So there's definitely advantages to both. From a building perspective, there's always an advantage to building fresh, right? Mm-hmm. So it can be, a good process long term. Sorry about my phone ringing in the background. But I think we sort of have so far been very comfortable in the legacy hotel genre. Mm-hmm. So we're very comfortable in going in, and it's almost from a pride perspective of taking what was something that had such a strong place or presence in New York generationally and building upon it. Now, that means there can be challenges to it. It can be more expensive, or it can be, more permitting. But we think that there's always lots of opportunity to build on these stories. So we're pretty comfortable with historic properties, but I think shifting into a new build would not be a problem for us either, just different.
And it would be a different type of story as well.
I think we would address technology much differently too,
right?
Because you have an opportunity to build more of an infrastructure, and you're doing everything ground up anyway. Mm-hmm. So you're not settling and spending money on building around things. Sometimes that, from a historic perspective, you can kind of say, okay, it really is a white piece of paper here, a clean piece of paper. What do we do differently? What did we always say? What's held us back before that we won't have this resistance, that we could just sort of have this unbridled success in a different area. And I think we would approach it that way.
Right. Excellent. Interesting. When did you guys take over the Hotel Edison? And for the listeners, that's a Times Square hotel.
Edison The Hotel Edison has been owned by these guys. It was actually Joe Barad, his family, that had that hotel. So they've had it for generations.
Cool.
It's come into the Triumph fold as sort of a newer thing, but again, Gerald grew up in that hotel. He was a bellman in that hotel.
No way.
His father operated that hotel.
That's cool.
And that's the same story on the other side with Shimmy, and they're really amazing. They're one of the best partnerships I've seen. I mean, real estate. It really is amazing. They're really quite a well-connected, and I don't just mean connected in the environment of New York, but as a partnership connection between two partners, very, very aligned on the type of hotels that they're trying to create. They're both very humble, and how they want what they've grown up in to reach out and convey to travelers and hope travelers enjoy what they've enjoyed building for our guests.
And I'll tell you, the reason why I mentioned the Hotel Edison in particular is because I loved that hotel before I even realized I loved hotels. Going back into the late 70s and early 80s when my parents would take me into the city to go see a Broadway show or go get some dinner and that sort of thing. And I always remember looking into the lobby and thinking about what a classic old hotel it was before I had the vocabulary really to be able to explain myself. So I've always felt connected to that property.
It's amazing. I mean, you talk about in so many hotels, Edison included, American history has happened in hotels.
Yeah.
You know, it's so amazing. And Thomas Edison actually turned the electricity on in that hotel from that hotel.
Oh my God.
So I mean, it's actually like really like, wow. I mean, only the guy who created it's like that, Neil Armstrong, it's like the guy who created electricity actually switched it on in that hotel in 1931.
Wow.
And and then stories just go and go and go. So I'm glad you feel it there.
I didn't even realize that it was such a technological marvel back in 1931. That's something that never even occurred to me. That's a pretty cool story.
Right.
So all right. So tell me a little bit about where all of this is headed to. What's in store for Triumph Hotels, Brett? I'm curious to know, what does the future hold in store for you guys?
Well, I think I just want to jump back on Edison for a second. It's very interesting because it's unexpected. Like, you don't know. You've got one of Condé Nast's best bars in New York in the Rum House,
right,
sitting in that hotel. You've got Freeman's, which is an amazing New York established, early morning, late night feeding frenzy place. Like, it's unexpected. But look at the alignment of who we're doing business with and partnering with to make our businesses better. It's almost like 1 + 1 = 3, right? And then there's Bond 45 in there, which you just get this amazing New York Italian dining experience in there. And the spaces are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And so it adds such value, not just to the history, but what we do today with a nod to the history or a nod to New York. And I think that's kind of why it works. Where we're going in the future is we want to grow in New York, continue to grow in New York. No question. And we're looking outside our borders. The things we're doing right now is allowing us to now say with confidence and be eager, with confidence and eagerness, to say we'd like to be in other markets. And certainly being in New York, having 6 hotels in New York, you're a feeder to certain markets. You're a feeder to Miami Beach, you're a feeder to Los Angeles, and you're a feeder to Nashville, you're a feeder to Austin, you're a feeder to different Chicago, you're a feeder to different places. And we are ready to do what we do and continue to have fun doing it in other places. But we still would like more here. And I would say if we do it, it certainly is where we could get another hotel down the street from a hotel we have, but we would be looking in continuing to look in different neighborhoods.
Great. I love it. And I think it's really cool that in 2018, we're talking about a company that's been so highly focused on the New York atmosphere, especially in a world of consolidation where all these big companies are becoming bigger. I love focusing on some of these smaller brands that are finding great success. Any final words, Brett? And then perhaps a really good shameless plug for you guys over at Triumph Hotels.
Well, thank you. First is I really want to hope you get to see more of our hotels, and we'd like to take you through our hotels, and even the ones we haven't developed yet, to show you what's coming there and why we think a particular place like the Belcourt has such great bones, and it's in such a great location. It's a beautiful building from the exterior in the Upper West Side, and we'd love to show you. I think from a plug perspective, I think for folks coming to New York, we work very, very hard to provide extremely conscientious, caring service from the heart. And I think, we have hotels all around the city, and we actually like our guests to feel a part of all of our hotels. So we want you to know when you come to one hotel that as you're walking around different neighborhoods, we have hotels in those neighborhoods, and come in to use the gym there, use the bar there, use the restrooms there, use whatever share, they're your spaces too. It's a family, and we want you to feel part of that when you come and say, you know what, I had a great stay at the Edison in Times Square, and next time we come back, we want to go downtown, and we just love the people, and we want to try Frederick next time. And we want to go to Frederick, and we want to eat at Serafina's there, and we want to go to Primo's Bar and have just a great downtown experience in Tribeca. And that's kind of the plug. I think we've been here a long time, and we're going to be here for a long time. And we work very hard to for our guests, and want more guests to see more of what we do.
All right, excellent. And I love that. I love all these properties that are named after actual people out there. So I want to thank Brett for being here. Make sure you check out TriumphHotels.com to learn more about them and more about the stay experience. I know a lot of my hotelier friends out there are going to be coming into the city for a lot of events in New York. Check them out. I think they're doing an absolutely terrific job. So on behalf of Brett and myself, I want to thank you all for listening. And I will be back next week. That is unless I decide to go in New York and open a hotel named the Glen Hotel. Because if all these guys could have a hotel named after them, why the heck can't I? Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.